The noose tightened around my neck like a lover's betrayal, the rough hemp biting into my skin as the chair kicked out from under me in that godforsaken prison cell. I remember the way my vision tunneled, black spots blooming like accusations from the jury that had sealed my fate, stolen funds, embezzlement, a life in ruins because of whispers from the two people I trusted most. My last thought wasn't rage. It was pity for the fool I'd been. Fiona Hale, top corporate lawyer at Decker and Associates, swinging there in the dim fluorescent hum, my body jerking until the world faded to nothing. But nothing isn't the end. Not for me. I woke up gasping. Not in the afterlife, but in my old queen-sized bed in my Upper East Side brownstone. The silk sheets tangled around legs that felt too young, too alive. The alarm clock blinked 6:47 a.m. September 15th, 2018, the exact date I'd signed that cursed partnership agreement with Mark and Sarah, the ones who'd smiled to my face while sharpening the knives for my back. My hands flew to my throat, smooth, unmarked, no scars from the rope. Heart hammering, I stumbled to the mirror, staring at the reflection of a 32-year-old me, not the hollow-eyed 33-year-old corpse I'd become after a year in Rikers, framed for the $5 million they'd siphoned from our biggest client, Vanguard Tech. It hit me then. A cosmic joke from whatever sadistic god ran this show. I'd been reborn.
众生
They call it in those Vietnamese ghost stories my mom used to scare me with as a kid, back when she was still alive and Dad hadn't yet drunk himself into the grave. But this wasn't some ethereal second chance. This was a loaded gun in my lap. Chambers full of the truth I hadn't seen coming. Mark, my husband of 5 years, the charming litigator with the Ivy League grin, and Sarah, my college roommate turned law partner, the sharp-tongued brunette who'd been my sister in all but blood. They'd played me like a mark in a con. The embezzlement? Their fingerprints all over it. But they'd pinned it on me. The ambitious upstart. The woman who dared climb higher than them. The trial was a farce. The evidence disappeared by insiders. And when the bars closed around me, they toasted my downfall with champagne in our shared office, whispering about the life insurance payout that would fund their escape to the Hamptons. I laughed then,
a raw,
ugly sound echoing off the marble bathroom tiles. Not this time. This time, I'd rewrite the script. I'd make them feel every ounce of the isolation, the despair, the suffocating weight of a world that turned its back. But vengeance like that, it doesn't come clean. It demands you get your hands dirty, make choices that would make the old Fiona recoil. And as I stared at that ghost of myself in the mirror, I knew I was ready to burn it all down, starting with the partnership meeting that afternoon. The city buzzed with its usual indifferent chaos as I hailed a cab to Midtown. New York in fall. Crisp air laced with pretzel vendors and exhaust. Yellow cabs honking like angry geese. I smoothed my pencil skirt, the one I'd worn that day in my first life, and rehearsed the lines I'd buried deep. No hysterics. No accusations yet. Just observation. In my past go-round, I'd been too eager, too trusting, pushing deals, signing off on audits without a second glance because Mark's hand on my knee under the conference table made me feel invincible. Stupid. Decker and Associates occupied the 42nd floor of a glass monolith on Park Avenue, all polished chrome and ego-stroking art. The elevator dinged, and there they were, Mark, leaning against the reception desk in his tailored Brooks Brothers suit, flashing that dimpled smile at Sarah as she laughed at some inside joke. She looked radiant, her red blouse hugging curves I'd envied back in our dorm days at Yale. They didn't see me yet, too wrapped up in their charade. Fiona, There you are.
Babe.
Mark pulled me into a hug that lingered just a beat too long for public eyes. His cologne, sandalwood and lies, flooding my senses. I forced a smile, planting a kiss on his cheek while my mind catalogued the tells, the slight twitch in his jaw when he lied, the way Sarah's eyes darted to him for approval. Sorry. Traffic, I murmured, extricating myself. Sarah air-kissed my cheeks, her perfume cloying. You look tense.
Phi.
Rough night. Her concern was pitch perfect, the kind that masked venom. Just the usual dreams, I said lightly, meeting her gaze. In my first life, I'd brushed it off. Now, I let the words hang, watching color flicker in her cheeks. She recovered fast, looping her arm through mine as we headed to the conference room. The meeting was a blur of PowerPoints and projections, Vanguard Tech's IPO looming, $50 million in fees on the line. Mark droned about risk assessments. Sarah chimed in with market forecasts.
And I
played my part, nodding, suggesting tweaks that made me look indispensable. But underneath the table, my phone buzzed with a ghost of an idea, the anonymous tip line for the SEC. I'd start small, dig where they least expected. By lunch, I was alone in my office, the door locked. I booted up my laptop, not the firm's secure server, but my personal one, firewalled tighter than Fort Knox this time around. First order, back up everything. Emails, client files, the partnership agreement with its buried clauses that would let them squeeze me out. Then, the real work. In my first life, I'd ignored the discrepancies in Vanguard's ledgers, the offshore accounts Mark had flagged as routine.
Now,
I cross-referenced them against public records, my fingers flying over keys like weapons. There, a shell company in the Caymans, linked to Sarah's maiden name. And Mark's signature on a wire transfer, dated 2 weeks after our wedding anniversary. The pieces clicked, a puzzle I'd solved too late before. They hadn't just framed me, they'd planned it from the start, using our marriage as cover, my ambition as bait. Rage boiled, hot and clarifying. But I tamped it down. Revenge isn't a sprint, it's a marathon with tripwires. That night, over takeout Thai in our brownstone, pad CEW for him. Extra spicy for the burn I craved, Mark proposed a toast. To us.
Phi.
To making history with Vanguard. His eyes sparkled with what I'd once mistaken for love. I clinked glasses, watching the foam settle. To history, I echoed. And in my head, to the end of yours. The next weeks blurred into a double life. By day, the perfect wife and partner, late nights at the firm, schmoozing clients at galas, letting Sarah braid my hair during girls' nights while she spilled half-truths about her stress. By night, Fiona the ghost, VPNs routing through Toronto servers, hacking into Mark's email with a password he hadn't changed since college. Fiona forever, ironic. That. I found the burner phone logs, the encrypted chats with a fixer named Rocco in Jersey. They were deeper in than I'd thought, not just embezzlement, but insider trading, tipping off competitors for kickbacks. The secret they'd buried? It wasn't $5 million, it was $20, and it traced back to a senator's slush fund. Political dynamite. But digging meant risks. One slip, and they'd smell it. So I started planting seeds. A careless email to IT about suspicious logins. A whispered concern to our paralegal, Jenny, a mousy kid with a conscience, about irregularities in the books. Jenny bit, her eyes widening. You think someone's? Not sure, I said, all wide-eyed innocence. But keep an eye out.
Yeah.
Mark noticed the shift first. Over dinner at Le Bernardine, foie gras melting on our tongues. He probed. You've been distant.
Phi.
Everything okay at work? I sipped my Chardonnay, letting the silence stretch. Just the pressure. Vanguard's big. What if we miss something? He laughed. Too loud. That's why we're a team. You?
Me.
Sarah, we've got this. Team. The word tasted like ash. I smiled. But inside, the plan crystallized. Isolate them. Turn their allies against them. First target, Jenny. I'd feed her crumbs. Let her chase the rabbit. Second, the firm. Anonymous leaks to the partners, framing it as internal audit gone wrong. And third, the personal touch. I'd make Mark doubt Sarah. Sarah ? Paranoia was the best weapon, slow, insidious, American as apple pie and McCarthyism. It started small. A forged text from Sarah's number to Mark's phone. We need to talk about Fiona. She's on to us. Sent from a spoof app while they were at a client dinner. I watched from across the room, nursing a martini, as Mark's face paled, his eyes flicking to Sarah. She caught it, frowned. By dessert, their banter had edges, sharp as broken glass. You okay? I asked him later. In the cab home, my hand on his thigh like old times.
Yeah.
Just. Sarah being Sarah. He kissed my temple, but his grip was tighter. Possessive. Good. Let the cracks form. Sarah cornered me the next day in the ladies' lounge. Mirrors reflecting her pinched face. Phi. What's going on with you and Mark? He was weird last night. I adjusted my lipstick. Casual. Beats me. Maybe he's stressed. Or maybe it's you, flirting a bit much at dinner? Her laugh was brittle. Jealous? Come on. We're family. Family. I met her eyes in the reflection. Exactly. And family doesn't lie. She blinked.
Throne.
Score one for the ghost. As October bled into November, the city turned skeletal with bare trees and biting winds, mirroring the decay I was sowing. Jenny came to me with a USB drive. I found this in the shredder bin. Looked important. It was gold. Deleted emails confirming the Cayman transfers. Signed by both. I hugged her. Tears in my eyes, real ones. For the innocence I'd lost. You're a lifesaver.
Jen.
But keep this quiet for now. I copied it to my cloud. Encrypted triple fold. Then, the controversial call. Do I go public? Blow it wide open and risk them vanishing with the money?
No.
That was too merciful. I wanted them to watch their empire crumble. Brick by brick. While I stood on the rubble. So, decision 1. Frame it as a heist gone wrong. Leak to the press that someone inside Decker was selling secrets. Let the feds swarm. But twist it so suspicion fell on them first, subtly, legally, with deniability. I consulted no one. Not my therapist, fired her in week 1. She was too soft. Not old friends, they'd scattered like roaches after the trial in my first life. Just me, alone with the hum of my laptop and the ghosts in my head. Thanksgiving loomed. A farce of turkey and forced cheer at Mark's parents' place in Connecticut. I played the doting daughter-in-law. But under the table, I texted Rocco from a burner. The deal's off. Fiona knows. Impersonating Sarah. By midnight, as we drove back through sleet-slick roads, Mark's phone lit up with Rocco's reply. You screwing me over? Fix it or you're done. He deleted it fast, but not before I glimpsed the panic in his eyes. Work stuff, he muttered. I hummed along to the radio, plotting the next move. Christmas would be their undoing, or mine, if I pushed too hard. But hell, I'd already died once. What was left to fear? December hit like a freight train, all twinkling lights and hollow cheer masking the rot beneath. New York dressed up in tinsel, but I saw the strings, puppeteers like Mark and Sarah, pulling levers on lives like mine. I'd clawed my way up from a nothing burger in Queens. Mom's ESL classes funding my scholarships. Dad's ghost haunting every late-night cram session. Law school wasn't a dream. It was survival. And they'd taken it, twisted it into their scaffold.
Now.
Reborn. I weaponized it. The leaks started subtle. A whistleblower tipped to the Wall Street Journal. Anonymized through proxies. Insider trading at Decker and Associates. Check Vanguard files. By the 10th, headlines buzzed. Prestige firm rocked by scandal rumors. Partners called emergency meetings, eyes darting like cornered rats. Mark played the outraged golden boy, vowing transparency. Sarah fluttered, organizing audits that conveniently skipped her desk. I sat in the crossfire, the innocent bystander they'd overlooked. This is insane, I said at the all-hands, voice steady. We need to root it out, whoever it is. My gaze lingered on them, just long enough to plant seeds. Jenny nodded furiously beside me. I'd looped her in halfway, promising protection if she testified later. She was my wild card, the moral compass I no longer had. But morality? That's for the living who haven't swung from ropes. My decisions grew grayer. Like the night I followed Sarah to a dive bar in Hell's Kitchen, the kind with sticky floors and whispers of deals in the shadows. She'd slipped out after hours, claiming a headache. I tailed her in a nondescript rental, heart pounding with the thrill of the hunt. She met Rocco in a booth, voices low over whiskeys. Mark's getting cold feet, she hissed. Fiona's sniffing around. Rocco, a bull-necked goon with a pinky ring that screamed mob light, leaned in, then cut her out. Like we planned. My blood ran cold, not from fear, but confirmation. Like we planned. From the beginning. Our wedding? A merger. My promotion?
Bait.
I snapped photos from the shadows. Blurry but damning, Sarah's hand on his arm. The envelope she passed, cash. No doubt for the fixer who'd lose evidence in my trial. I could have confronted her then, dragged her into the light.
But no.
Controversy brewed in restraint. Instead, I escalated, hacked Rocco's phone, a favor from a shady contact in my past life. A hacker kid I'd defended pro bono. Voicemails galore, Mark promising the bitch will take the fall, Sarah giggling about our future without her nagging. It fueled me. That bile. Christmas Eve. Our brownstone aglow with a tree I'd decorated alone while Mark worked late. I spiked his scotch with a mild sedative. Nothing lethal. Just enough to loosen tongues. He stumbled in at 2 a.m., reeking of bourbon and Sarah's perfume.
Fie.
Marry whatever. I helped him to bed, then rifled his briefcase. Jackpot. A USB with encrypted files, Vanguard ledgers, altered to show my approvals on the shady transfers. They'd been building the frame for months. New Year's dawned with resolutions I had no use for. The firm teetered, clients pulled out, Vanguard threatening lawsuits. Mark and Sarah closed ranks. But the strain showed, snapped words in hallways. Her manicures chipping from nail-biting. I played mediator. The rock they leaned on, all while feeding the beast. Another leak, to the DA's office. Evidence of bribery tied to Sarah's family trust. Forged, but convincing, pulled from public records and photoshopped signatures. The backlash hit fast. Cops at her door on January 5th. Warrants waving. I watched from my office window as they cuffed her in the lobby, her screams echoing. This is a mistake. Fiona. Help. I rushed down, feigning shock. Sarah? Oh God. What's happening? Mark arrived, face ashen, shoving through gawkers. He pulled me aside, whispering, "She's innocent."
You know that. Did I?
In my first life, I'd believed him, testified on her behalf even as the noose metaphorically tightened. Now, of course, I lied, squeezing his hand. We'll fight this. But we didn't. I lawyered up separately, citing conflicts. Behind scenes, I coached Jenny, tell them about the files. All of it. She did, cracking under questioning, spilling the Cayman shell. Sarah's bail hearing? A circus. Bail denied, flight risk. Mark visited her in holding, but I bugged his car a $200 Amazon kit. Child's play. Recordings of him raging. You slipped. Sarah. That envelope, stupid.
She sobbed.
I did it for us. For the life after Fiona. The words sliced, but I savored them. Paranoia peaked when Mark confronted me that night. Eyes wild in our kitchen. You think I had something to do with this? The old Fiona would have soothed, made love to erase doubts. This one poured wine. Slow. Why would I? Unless. You've been acting strange. He deflated, crumbling into confessions. Not full, but enough. It's stress. The firm's dying. I nodded, but inside, triumph roared. Decision 2. The Wire. I wore one to a reconciliation dinner with him at Per Se. Tears and candlelight. He spilled more, hints of the senator. The slush fund. We were going to run.
Fi.
After the trial. I'm sorry.
We.
Not him alone. The betrayal deepened. A chasm. I turned off the recorder in my purse, kissed him goodnight, then uploaded to a secure drop for the feds. Anonymous. Of course. February brought snowdrifts and subpoenas. The SEC raided Decker, seizing servers. Partners jumped ship. The firm hemorrhaged like a gut shot. Mark isolated, drowning in depositions, while Sarah rotted in MCC. Her not guilty plea a joke. I pivoted, poaching clients with charm and clean hands suddenly. Hale Legal was born. A solo outfit in a Tribeca loft. My phoenix rising. But success tasted bitter. Sleepless nights replayed the cell. The ropes burn. Was this justice or just another cage? Friends, real ones, from before noticed. Fiona, you're different. Harder. Good, I snapped once. To Lisa, my old running buddy. She backed off. But the mirror showed truth, lines etched deeper, eyes like flint. Vengeance was devouring me, one moral compromise at a time. The controversial pivot came mid-month. Rocco reached out through a proxy, threatening. Your wife's friend? She's singing. About you too. Maybe. Bluff. But it stung. I could have gone legit. Handed evidence to prosecutors. Instead, I met him in a Queens warehouse. The kind from bad cop shows, dripping pipes, rats skittering. You're done, I said, voice steady. A Beretta, borrowed, unregistered, heavy in my coat. Not to shoot, God. No, but leverage. Walk away, or Sarah's tapes go viral. Yours too. He laughed. A guttural bark. You think you're tough. Princess. I pulled the gun, chambered around.
Click.
His eyes widened. Try me. He backed off, muttering curses, but I saw the fear. That night, I burned the gun in a backyard fire pit, ashes scattering like old sins. Was it self-defense? Vigilantism? The line blurred. American dream twisted into nightmare fuel. March thawed the streets, but not my heart. Mark filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences, the cowards out. I countersued, dragging his finances bare, frozen assets. IRS liens for my tips. He showed at my loft. Drunk.
Pleading.
Fi.
Please.
We can fix this. I let him in, poured coffee. Tell me everything. From the start.
He did.
Unraveling like cheap yarn. The affair started in law school, rekindled at the firm. The scheme, her idea, his execution. The frame, my greed, made it easy. We loved you, in a way. But you were. Too much. Too much. The words echoed my mother's last rant before the overdose. I nodded, recording every syllable. Get out. As he left, tail between legs, I felt the high power, unadulterated. But cracks showed. Jenny quit, spooked by the violence I'd hinted at. Lisa ghosted. Even the city felt hostile, its pulse mocking my isolation.
Still.
Momentum built. Prosecutors circled, building cases on my breadcrumbs. Sarah flipped first, plea deal for reduced time. Fingering Mark. He lawyered up, but his team crumbled under scrutiny. By April's cherry blossoms, indictments dropped. Conspiracy, fraud, the works. I watched from afar. Hale legal thriving, but the victory rang hollow. The twist loomed. I could feel it, like static before lightning. What if they weren't the only players? What if the senator fought back? April showers brought subpoenas, not flowers. The city bloomed in defiant pink. Central Park joggers oblivious to the storm I'd unleashed. Hale Legal's office overlooked the Hudson. A far cry from Decker's sterile halls, exposed brick. Succulents. A view that reminded me why I'd fought for this skyline. Clients poured in, startups hungry for clean counsel. Whispers of my instincts preceding the scandal. But every win tasted like cardboard. The real feast was their fall. Mark's trial prep was a media circus. Court TV vans clogged the streets outside Foley Square. Reporters banged for sound bites. I testified as a witness, my words measured daggers. In retrospect, the discrepancies were obvious. The prosecutor, a bulldog named Vasquez, ate it up, her eyes gleaming with the kill. Sarah, out on house arrest pending her plea, watched from the gallery, gaunt in orange scrubs, her once vibrant curls limp. Our eyes met once, hers pleaded. Mine?
Ice.
But the high court drama masked undercurrents. Late-night calls from unknown numbers. Hang-ups that chilled.
Then,
The email. Back off. Or join them. No signature. But the attachment, a grainy photo of me leaving the warehouse. Time-stamped.
Rocco?
Or higher. My gut twisted. The senator, Harlan Graves, wasn't some backroom hack. He chaired finance, golfed with presidents, and rumors swirled of his generous PACs. If Mark and Sarah were pawns, I was poking a dragon. Decision 3. Go nuclear. I'd hesitated before, moral qualms, fear of blowback.
Now?
Screw it. I compiled the dossier, recordings, ledgers, even a timeline linking Graves to the slush fund via Vanguard kickbacks. Controversial as hell. Releasing it meant vigilante justice, potential libel suits, maybe disbarment. But the old Fiona died swinging. This one would die exposing rot. I shopped it carefully. Not the feds, they were slow. Bought. Instead, a journalist, Elena Ruiz at The Intercept, a pitbull who'd exposed Epstein's enablers. We met in a Brooklyn coffee shop. Rain pattering windows like accusations. This could ruin lives, she warned, scanning pages. Innocent ones?
No.
I slid the USB across. Publish. All of it. She did. 2 weeks later, the senator's shadow empire, how Wall Street elites bought Washington. Front page firestorm. Graves denied. Lawyered up. But the dominoes fell, congressional probes, frozen assets. Mark's name in bold as the conduit. He cracked in interrogation. Spilling to save his skin. It was her idea, Sarah's. But Graves. He pulled strings. Sarah, raging in her ankle monitor, called me from her Tribeca walk-up. Irony.
That.
You bitch. You did this. I picked up. Voice calm. Karma's a collaborator.
Sarah.
How's the view from the bottom? She sobbed. A guttural wail. We were scared. You were rising so fast threatened everything. Please.
Phi.
Mercy.
Mercy.
The word hung, evoking my cell, the guard's leers, the jury's averted eyes. You hanged me without a trial. Enjoy yours. I hung up, but doubt crept. Was I better? The dossier exposed innocence too, junior associates coerced. Family's collateral. Jenny texted, saw the article. Proud? I didn't reply. Pride was for winners, I was a survivor.
Scarred.
Crescendo built in May. Heat wave turning Manhattan into a pressure cooker. Graves' hearing was theater, senators grandstanding. Cameras flashing. Mark took the stand. Broken, ties askew. Voice trembling. I followed orders. Fiona suspected early. She tried to warn us. Lies. But they stung. Vasquez called me for rebuttal, Mrs.
Hale.
Did your husband confide in you? I leaned into the mic. The courtroom hushed. Confide?
No. Betray.
He and Sarah orchestrated it all, framed me for their crimes. And when that failed, they let me rot. Gasps rippled. Mark's head snapped up, eyes pleading. Sarah, viewing remotely, disconnected mid-feed, panic attack. Her lawyer claimed. Post-testimony. Chaos. Protesters outside, justice for Fiona trending. My face on billboards overnight. Talk shows beckoned. I declined. But the spotlight burned. Old wounds reopened. Mom's suicide note surfacing in bios. Dad's DUIs. America loved a redemption arc, but hated the blood on the hero's hands. Then, the threats escalated. My loft vandalized, traitor scrawled in red. Rocco cornered me in an alley post-jog, knife glinting. Graves says hi. I ran, pulse thundering, dialing 911 mid-stride. Cops hauled him, but his sneer lingered. You're next.
Ghost. Ghost. Fitting.
That night, alone with a Glock, legal this time, New York permit rushed. I fortified deadbolts, cameras, a PI on retainer. Sleep fled, dreams merged past and present, rope and knife. Mark's laugh echoing. June sweltered. Trials converging. Sarah's sentencing, 15 years. No parole. She collapsed, wailing my name like a curse. Mark's loomed. Graves subpoena a sword over all. I attended, front row, the weight of eyes heavy. But as Mark shuffled in chains, something fractured. His gaze met mine, not defiance, but regret.
Fie.
I'm sorry. Whispers. Was it real? In my first life. Apologies came too late. Poison-laced.
Now?
I searched for truth. Found fragments. The affair. Yes, cruel. The frame. Unforgivable. But the love, twisted, maybe genuine once. It humanized him, and that terrified me more than hate. The controversial climax. I could have let it end there. Justice served. Instead, I visited him pre-sentencing. Plexiglass between us. Why? I demanded. Voice raw. He leaned close, fogging the divider.
Fear.
You were the star brighter, better. We dimmed you to shine. And Graves, a mistake. He hooked us with promises, then owned us. I nodded, the recorder in my bra whirring. One last chance. Testify against him. Full truth. He hesitated. Then, for you? Yeah. It was the twist I'd half expected. Redemption's hook. Mark flipped. Graves' empire crumbling in a plea avalanche. Resignation. Indictments. Suicides in his circle. But victory's edge cut deep. As confetti fell on news tickers, corruption kingpin falls, I stood alone on my balcony. Hudson churning black below. Jenny called. You did it.
Fie.
Hero.
Hero.
Or monster. The line, once clear, blurred to oblivion. July's humidity clung like guilt. The city a steam bath of unresolved sins. Graves' downfall dominated airwaves, op-eds hailing Fiona Hale, the Avenger in heels, late-night hosts cracking jokes about legal lingerie bombs. Hale legal boomed. Offers from big law to poach me. Book deals whispering 7 figures. I turned them down, building instead a foundation for wrongfully convicted women. Pro bono firebrand. Irony? The ghost funding justice. But peace? Elusive as a clean conscience. Mark's sentencing came on the 4th. Fireworks bursting over the East River as he got 25 to life. No mercy from the judge who'd once golfed with Graves. Mr. Hale, your betrayal of trust is a cancer on our system. He didn't look at me. Head bowed. But in the van en route to Sing Sing, word leaked he'd scrawled a letter. Fie, this is my rope.
Forgive if you can. Love. M.
Sarah's followed. 20 years in federal white-collar hell. FMC Carswell. Texas sun baking regrets. She wrote too. Through channels, I was jealous. You shone. I schemed. End me if it helps. Melodramatic. But it pierced. In my first life, their silence had broken me.
Now.
Echoes begged. Was vengeance the cure or the poison? The real twist hit in August. A manila envelope slipped under my door. No postmark. Just my name in block letters. Inside, photos. Yellowed, me as a kid. Mom's overdose scene blurred for decency. Dad's arrest mug. And a note. We made you. Fiona. They broke you. But blood calls. And signed. But the handwriting?
Mom's.
No, impossible. Then, the letter from her estate lawyer. Dated post-rebirth, an unopened inheritance. Held till I proved worthy.
Inside.
Diaries detailing Dad's debts, not booze. But blackmail. He'd skimmed from Graves' early packs. A low-level fixer. Mom killed herself not from grief, but shame, protecting me from the web. It unraveled everything. My climb, not ambition alone, but escape from tainted roots. Mark and Sarah? Not random. Graves had nudged them my way, testing if the apple fell far. Family business, the note sneered. I'd avenged the wrong betrayal, surface scum. Ignoring the abyss. Rage renewed, but wiser. No guns, no leaks. I hired investigators, traced threads to Graves' old guard, a uncle I'd never met, rotting in assisted living. He confessed over lukewarm tea in a Bronx facility. Your pa was small time. Graves used him, then you as leverage. Thought it'd keep him quiet. Why tell me now? He wheezed, eyes milky.
Cancer.
And you. You finished what he started. I left with recordings, but no thrill. The cycle, betrayal begetting vengeance, mocked me. Back home, I burned the photos, flames dancing like my nooses shadow. Forgiveness? Not yet. But understanding? A start. September circled. Anniversary of my rebirth. The brownstone sold. Proceeds to the foundation. I moved to a Soho loft, airy. Light. Ghosts vanished. Lisa returned. Tentative coffees turning to runs in the park. You're healing, she said one dawn. Hudson glittering. Or just surviving round two. Jenny joined the firm. Her first case, a wrongful conviction appeal, echo of mine. We won. Tears in the courtroom. Real justice without blood. October's leaves fell like shed skins. Graves died in custody. Heart attack. Official. Karma. My bet. Mark's appeals failed. Sarah's letter stopped. I visited neither. Instead, a gala for the foundation, black tie. Donors toasting Fiona Hale, unbreakable. On stage. Mic in hand, I scanned faces, no enemies. Just allies forged in fire. I died once, I said, voice steady. Betrayed by those I loved. Buried by secrets not my own. But rebirth isn't magic, it's choice. To fight. To forgive. To build from ashes. Applause thundered, but my eyes stung. Choice, the controversial heart. I'd chosen dirt, threats, forgeries, a gun's cold grip. But also light, exposing rot, lifting others. The end? Not by kitsch. Not wholly happy. American as it gets, messy, redemptive, tense with what-ifs. That night, alone with wine and city hum, I raised a glass to the mere Fiona, 33 now, Scars invisible but earned. To history, I whispered. No more ghosts. Just me.
Alive. And damn.
It felt like winning.